Good evening, and welcome to Talking Songs in the depths of winter almost. Bizarre, isn't it? We've gone from, what was it? Hottest day of the year so far 2 days ago to a flurry of snow this morning here in Manchester. So yeah, you just never know what to wear, do you? So how are we all doing out there? We're all right here in Talking Songs Towers. What news have I got for you? We've just hit 115,000 viewers in total, which is quite good. Quite pleased with that. And any of you want to join us in the group so you can keep in touch with what's going on, that'd be great. And tell your friends. So we'll be talking about songs in a minute. So I'll just tell you a little bit about this one. This song was written one morning after a visit to the bank. And, you know, that situation when you go into a bank and there's two queues and you join the one you think is going to be the fastest moving for whatever reason. It might be slightly shorter, might be just fewer people, you don't know. And you join that one and you suddenly realize that the other one is going down very, very quickly. And then when you finally think, right, oh, sorry, I'll go to that one. You go over to that one and then the cashier says, excuse me, just got to take a phone call. It was one of those days, you know. So I came home and I wrote this song, which is called They Call Me Lucky. Oh, well, look at that. We've got a comment straight away there. I wonder who that is. It's Nev Buxton. Hello, Nev. I've seen Nev's name up there several times. So, yeah, this is called They Call Me Lucky. Straight away there. I'm always at the wrong window, always waiting in the wrong queue. I don't know why it happens to me. It never seems to happen to you, but they still call me lucky. They say I'm lucky all of the time. I got plenty of luck, believe me, but only of the bad, bad kind. So I went down to the racetrack, 'cause I had that gambling itch. My first horse did not finish, and the second one fell in a ditch, but they still call me lucky. They think I'm lucky all of the time. I got plenty of luck, believe me, but only of the bad, bad kind. So I thought I'd try the dog track, 'cause I still had to scratch that itch. My dog didn't bother to start the race. I ain't never ever gonna be rich, but they still call me lucky. They think I'm lucky all of the time. I got plenty of luck, believe me, but only of the bad, bad kind. When I go traveling, I always pick the wrong time. When there's snow in the Sahara, there's a heat wave on the time. They still call me lucky. They think I'm lucky all of the time. I got plenty of luck, believe me, but only of the bad, bad kind. I got plenty of luck, believe me, but only of the bad, bad kind. Yes, courtesy of the Nationwide Building Society. So, yes, so today I have with me, good grief, there's lots of chat going on already. We've got Junior Davis. Now, that name's cropped up several times over the last few days, strangely. So, yes, so this evening, we have with us Mr. Gallagher. Not Rory Gallagher, not Gallagher and Lyle, not the Notorious Oasis Boys, but Marc Gallagher. So let's get the man in. How are you doing, Marc?
I'm great, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yes, a little puzzled by the weather, as we all are, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm sure it is starting to get a bit spring-like. I don't know where you are in Nadbridge. Have you got flowers and stuff? We've got flowers all over the place at the moment, and trees in bloom and stuff, which is always nice.
Blossoms have started, yeah, which has been quite nice. It's just interesting that it went from summer to winter elements in just a couple of days.
Yeah. I do remember a few years ago, well, it's probably like, it's quite a long time ago now, 25 years ago, there were like 2 or 3 years on the trot where I was coming back from London on the first official day of spring, and it was snowing, which we're fairly close to that at the moment, I think. So it's a bit strange. So, Marc, now I don't think I've ever seen you play anything else apart from ukulele, but did you start on ukulele or?
My journey actually began with piano. I was 12 years old.
Okay.
And I saw the film Monsters vs. Aliens. It was a DreamWorks feature. And there's a scene in that where the President of the United States is communicating to this alien robot thing, and he uses a keyboard, and as a gag, they play the Axel F, the theme from Crazy Frog, but formerly from Beverly Hills Cop.
Hills Cop, yeah.
I saw that, I came home, we had an old keyboard, I dusted it off, and I worked it out by ear. So I started out on piano, and then I wanted to be in a band, but I also wanted to be like a utility player. I just wanted to be involved in whatever way I could. So it was guitar next, because we had a module in school where we learned 3 chords, D, G, and A. So I got a £4 nylon strung guitar from a car boot sale, learned how to play guitar, had that in a chord book, and that I was away. And then I learnt bass in 2011 when I was 14, because, well, I knew how to play guitar, so I could just it was easier to transfer that onto bass. And I was just at a trade show, a guitar fair, and there was a ukulele for about £20, and I thought, well, it's holding chord shapes and strumming, so it's another instrument I can add to my list of what I can play. So it's my way of just increasing the utility belt.
Yeah, it's good. But I mean, it's a very just and I've seen you play the technique, the right hand technique is very different, isn't it?
It depends on what style you can do.
You can do the normal bit, but that when it's done properly, it's a much looser sort of a flailing effect, which I have to say I'm quite partial to. So how long ago was that then?
So it was about 10 years ago now that I first picked up ukulele. So I learned piano 2009, guitar the following year, and then it was about May-ish in 2011 I learnt bass, and also it's just at that guitar fair, and it was about October, I think that fair was. And I had there was a magazine that my mum bought a few magazines from a car boot sale. It's Total Guitar, and it was just about 6 issues of this thing for like £1 or whatever. So one of the articles there was about your first few ukulele chords, C, G, A minor, and F. And so it showed the chord diagrams thereof, and hey, here are the chords you can play with that. Various 4 chord songs. And so I got to thinking in terms of that, and then I just, over the years, I carried on sort of adding to said utility belt. I learnt sax, clarinet, I bought a quarter-size violin from a pawn shop for £10, so that's adorably small. It was
I was going to say, do you have a thing about small instruments, maybe?
I just saw a violin in a case with a bow for £10, and I thought, okay, this sounds nice. And then it was fun to just bring that into orchestra and show the actual violin players this little tiny thing.
Well, they do actually make in Suzuki, who invented the Suzuki method of violin playing. They make quarter-size violins. I mean, I've seen footage of. I mean, they start teaching kids at the age of something like 3 or something other to play the violin. So, you know, the violin is like, you know, the size of a, I don't know, the size of a wallet, sort of, or a can of beer, you know. So, okay, what about the songwriting then?
Songwriting came before I actually learned how to play an instrument. I was 12, and the first song I wrote, I like performing. That was before I knew how to play instruments. I liked performing and like being on stage. I remember probably first memory was year 6. There was a school talent show, and I sang in that because you know I sang badly, but I just enjoyed being on stage. So that's where songwriting came from. I wrote my first song a cappella at the age of 12, and I will never forget. There was a high school talent show, and I was year 7, and I sang my own song, and I didn't, because I didn't play any instruments, I had no accompaniment, so I sang my own song a cappella, and halfway through the second verse, I forget my lyrics, and I have nothing to fall back on. I just had that blank for, a few seconds, and then I remembered, but by then it's too late.
Yeah, well, it's one of those, it's a moment that seems to last for hours, doesn't it? You know, it's the horrific sort of situation, and it's sort of, it happens to everybody. I actually saw Segovia live once, where he forgot where he was in a piece. Believe it or not.
Wow.
Mind you, he was 87 at the time, so I think he can be forgiven for. No, it was startling. He was doing a concert in Swansea, my hometown, and I went back there to see him, and he was amazing. But I mean, he was in his late 80s, and at one point he was halfway through a piece, and he just stopped. Didn't say anything. Nobody in the audience moved. Nobody said anything. Nobody clapped. And everybody knew it was a mistake, and he just stopped and started the piece again and carried on through. It was amazing. So, you know, it can happen to the best. If it can happen to him, it can happen to anybody, you know. Okay, then. So what about a song then? What are you going to sing us first?
Sure. I'll first do one off my latest album, Songs from a Happy Winter. So the cover of that song, the cover of the album is of my ukulele in some snow, and there's mountains in the background. That was taken in Livigno, Italy. I was on holiday with family a few years ago, and it was a skiing holiday, and I realised about 2 days in that I don't like skiing. So,
had you skied before, or did you realise when you got there?
I said, I'm not sure if I can ski, Mum. And she said, you went on a skiing holiday when you were 2, so you'll be fine. You'll remember it. And I'm like, I don't think I will, Mum. And I was right. So I realised I didn't like skiing, and my family were like, that's fine. We're going to ski. You do whatever you want to do. And on Christmas Day, it was a Christmas holiday, and Christmas Day, while they were out skiing, I took a bit walk for a couple of miles, 3 miles, and I went to the lake, Lago del Livigno.
Right.
Pardon my Italian pronunciation. I went to the lake there, and where the picture was taken, and I wrote a song. The song is about a gig I played, and specifically about someone I chatted up at a gig that I played. And I remember how excited I felt just sort of, chatting up someone and where that could possibly lead to. And that's
excellent.
That song is called The Next Move.
Nice.
A crowded room, December and Friday night. The beer flows free, and the youngsters shut it wild. 700 faces, but none I recognize. I excuse myself, try to get some air outside. Tip on my shoulder, I turn around, feeling somewhat confused. Exchange introductions, and then hello, I was confused. I offered you your favorite drink, and I'm so glad you didn't refuse. I made a start, I let you make the next move. The face is blurred, there's a focus on your eyes. We start getting closer, start getting more tactile. I'm called on stage to liven up the night. You step up to dance, I wish one of my feet were right. Send the crowd, dancing crowd, keep falling into my view. A wink or two send you away, you seem charmed in the news. We've both been lonely for a while, I think you can be my muse. I've made a start, I'll let you make the next move. A step off stage, and we found somewhere quiet. I listen to your passions and the background of your life. We practice our Spanish, finding where a fuego lies. Standing silent and close, and we feel the spark ignite. If you're la duda and tus ojos azul, we can go our separate ways, both got nothing to lose. I leave my number just in case you want to start something new. I've made a start, I'll let you make the next move.
Yeah, lovely.
Cheers.
Great hook. Love it. And the sort of the call and response idea of it. You know, make the start and you make the next move. Who do you like as songwriters?
My favourite songwriters, Ed Sheeran, Brad Paisley.
Right.
I adore them. And also a couple of people on a local level who I adore. Matthew Carey and Caroline Frances. I adore their work. Matthew Carey is local on Manchester's open mic scene. Matthew with 1T. If I'd recommend one song, it would probably be Paper Round.
Okay.
It's just got such a great way of capturing a feeling of sort of nostalgia, I guess. Paper Round especially, it's about the simplicities of youth and how you don't care about the meaning.
I know
of
that
things.
song sounds familiar, so I may well have heard him.
And Caroline Frances is a piano player, songwriter in Sheffield.
Okay.
So, yeah, she's done gigs in Manchester that I've worked on, but she's not been for a while for obvious
reasons. They said in stereo. What about one of the things I noticed on? I can't think whether it was on your Facebook page or whether it was on your site, was saying about playing the songs that you don't expect to hear on a ukulele.
Indeed, I believe that, to quote the line exactly, pardon my pedantry.
That's all right. I'm with you.
Playing songs you never knew you wanted to hear on ukulele.
And you never.
Yes.
Yep.
I have quite a large back catalogue of songs. My repertoire is over 500 songs now. I mentioned before I like being a utility player. I learned all the instruments because I wanted to be in all the clubs. I wanted to be the guy that people could go, oh, I need something, Mark. And I wanted to kind of let that element translate into my covers gigs and stuff. People wanting music of whatever kind. The last gig I did before lockdown was a Jewish event in Bournemouth, where in the space of like 5-7 days, I learned a bunch of Jewish instrumental material. And I now have that. I don't think I'm ever going to play it again, but it's there in case.
You never know.
Indeed.
Yeah. Because what I was thinking about is that, I mean, the sort of the re-emergence of the ukulele over the last 15 years, I suppose, not 20 years. I mean, a lot of that came from the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain, and their sort of their approach to doing everything from, well, I think the first thing I ever heard them do was "Smells Like Teen Spirit," which was, I thought, a masterpiece of an arrangement, and then "Stairway to Heaven." And I think, I mean, in fairness to them, not only are they good performers, but they are very stagey as well, aren't they? A lot of their numbers are very sort of heavily choreographed. But there has been a huge resurgence of interest from that point onwards, and Frank Skinner is a big protagonist of the ukulele. What do you think its appeal is? What is it? The fact that it's quirky, or is
very good question. It's very communal. A lot of the ukulele scene, as it were, came in the form of clubs. My introduction to the uke scene, I was in a ukulele club in high school. I say a club, there are about 3-4 people in it. And
small club, but it's a club.
Indeed. So we'd meet on Monday lunchtimes and play songs, and we were alerted that I was told by one of the people in the group, hey, on Sundays at the Black Lion pub, which was about 100 metres down the road from our school, they've got this ukulele jam on. And it's that. Right. So it's people, it's clubs, they just have songbooks, and it's the communal aspect. People go in, they get a bunch of pints, and they just play through songs and using relatively simple chord sequences. And it's that communal aspect that I think is the greatest appeal of it. The myths get bandied about that it's cheap, it's easy, which is that they're myths. That, but ukulele can be easy to learn the first 3 chords and start playing 3-chord tricks. But to learn it is to master an instrument like anything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as for its appeal, I think it's mostly the communal aspect that really gets people
going.
No,
that makes a lot of sense. I mean, certainly when I was at school, it was a similar thing about guitars. But as you say, it's the entry level of these sort of things. I remember talking to a friend of mine, and this would have been 20 odd years ago, and his daughter wanted to play the bassoon. And the cheapest they could buy a bassoon was about 1,800 quid. And this is 20 odd years ago, and he said, well, I can't put her off. But of course, with those expensive instruments now, a lot of the shops do these sort of deals whereby you rent it basically. But the ukulele, but also the lovely thing about the ukulele is why I have to say I have been tempted by the idea, is that it's so portable.
One of the big turning points. So guitar was my main instrument for a while, and I was in an acoustic duo from 2014, and we broke up in 2016. And I realised on that, because guitar was very much my work instrument at that point in time. It'd stay in its case. It'd come out for 2 hours as I'd play a gig. It'd then go back in its case until the next show. So
right.
When the duo broke up, I realised a few things. I needed to re-establish myself as a solo artist quickly, and I realized that the guitar wasn't the fun instrument, because during that time at home I would play the uke for fun, so why not just start playing that more at gigs? And then I was doing a stretch in 2016 of I'd play a gig a day every day, no days off, and I'd I kept that going, day 86, gig 100 before it ended.
I remember that period, actually. I think that was when I met you around that sort of time.
It was, I appeared on your radio show, and that was one of the performances that counted. So during that period, I was spending a lot of time walking through Manchester City Centre, and it's easier to carry ukulele on the back than it is to carry a guitar. And at these many gigs I was playing with you'd have like 5 acoustic guitarists, and then you'd have that one ukulele player, and instantly I was standing out by virtue of being different.
Well, I have to admit that I can remember saying to somebody when I was doing the radio show, and they were saying, "Well, you've got a guest in this ring." I said, "Yeah, the guy who plays the ukulele, because you were the only one on the circuit who did, as far as I remember." And in fact, Colin Cunningham has just written on here, "I remember that period too."
Oh, so long ago now.
It was
2016.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, yeah. So it's a sort of it's a practical thing. But as you say, learning any instrument involves complexity as well. I mean, I can't remember his name now. James somebody or other, the ukulele player who does Billie Jean.
James Hill,
fabulous. I mean, just extraordinary player, and
my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's a monster. I've seen a couple of gigs he does with his wife as well, who plays cello.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Janelle. I've seen James Hill twice. I've met him at ukulele festivals on that circuit, and what I love about his duets with his wife is that she approaches her cello parts like a double bassist.
Yes,
that's something I really admire.
Yeah, I had some experience of working with when I was at university. I worked with a guy who was a cellist, and I think it's a wonderful sound. It's not as piercing as a violin. It's got a mellowness to it. It's got a depth to it, and he literally played it like a double bass, kind of a small double bass, but nevertheless a double bass. Okay, do you think it's time for another song?
Sure thing. Let's plug this out. So this one, I'll do another one off my album Songs for Happy Winter, because I really like this song. It is, and also plug in the album, etc. It's been out over a year.
That's okay.
But it's this song, I wrote it when I was travelling. The Happy Winter in question that made that album happen. I was travelling in Germany for about 3 months and surrounding countries. And during one of the weekends, I stayed in Freiburg. And there's a friend of mine who I just bonded with her, and I realised she's someone I can very safely say that I love her, but in the sort of Ti voglio bene type of I love you, as opposed to the Ti amo, I love you. So I realised that sort of thing. Not that I have any romantic implications, but just I could happily be cold if it meant she wasn't. That sort of thing. And I wrote of just these little silly things that just really made me realise that. And I wrote it in this song called Intimacy. Midnight past 3 hours ago. The outside air is still. The clock ticks by like the candlelight, whose imprint we sit by to feel. Your cherubic sighs ripple through the fire, some stories and secrets to me. I don't feel the one, but I felt the intimacy. Daylight peeps through your window, reflects upon your skin. Vapor sea born from tea leaves, enveloped from within. It sits where you're lying close that were once mine, as you awake peacefully. I didn't feel the flames, but I felt the intimacy. I love her style and I love her voice, her conversations too. You can remove those last nouns, my words will still be true. She can't help but inspire my growing desire to tell her what she means to me. I didn't feel the warmth, but I felt the intimacy. don't want to pass these feelings I have, and I don't want to lie. I'd let my jacket hold its warmth to you when we step outside. If you can forgive the hand I write with and the words I send out to thee, I don't feel the warmth, but I felt the intimacy.
Nice.
Cheers.
Colin's just pointed out that there were two other uke players. He's got Gavin playing punk uke, and Rachel Ferguson. I don't remember that name, I have to say.
Rachel Ferguson rings a bell. Maybe it's because I'm thinking of I was thinking Sarah Ferguson, the X Factor singer. No, Rachel Ferguson, I'm not too sure. I'm definitely aware of Gavin Gallagher. He's wonderful, really good player in the scene.
Yeah, have you done he's revised his boat sessions online?
I didn't know he has started the boat sessions again. I knew that they were a thing, and I was interested in getting involved, but it sort of fizzled out. I'll have to get in touch with him on that.
Yeah, give him a shout. No, what was I going to say? There was something important I was going to say then. You were saying about the ukulele club and that sort of concept. Now, I remember that time when you were traveling in Germany, because it was either immediate before that or after it when you came on the radio show. When you were going over there, was that the sort of route into your travels? Were you sort of hopping from, a town where you knew there was a ukulele club to another? Is it a sort of network?
Right. So when I was traveling, there were various people I knew within the ukulele community, both online and also at festivals I'd been to. So I'm lucky enough to have played at festivals in Germany, Austria. I was booked to play in Belgium before the world shut down. So I knew of various sort of clubs online, and I sort of sorted out gigs where I'd do like live performances, and the culture in terms of live music in Germany and Austria was very sort of tip-based. You'd pass the hat around and make money that way. So I had those gigs organised and would stay with relevant people around those. So that was... there was an element of pre-planning going into it. I knew that, okay, so I'm going in Berlin for a month, and I'll have that time from there to then to do what I need to do, and I'll reach out to those who I need to. But there were also sort of spontaneous elements. I lived for a month in Alzenau, a town near Frankfurt, and an opportunity came to play a gig in Vienna. So it's like, sure. Several hundred miles of driving, but I was happy to, book out a couple of days to just, I'll go Vienna, I'll find people to stay with and other things to do around there. So there was an element of spontaneity to it, but it was kind of mostly sort of planned out.
So has the ukulele, I'm assuming that the ukulele has had this sort of same resurgence in Europe as it has in Britain and America. Is that true?
Yes, definitely so. There's less. What's I think is important to emphasize is that George Formby is pretty much a non-factor in mainland Europe, and also in America too. It's a comment I get all the time at pub gigs and stuff. Ukulele, like George Formby, eh? And I'm like, yes, it's frustrating.
But isn't it exactly the same? I mean, the number of times when I've been walking down the street with a guitar and a case, and somebody said, "You're going to give us a tune, then?" And the obvious answer is no. But it's one of those things that people do. It's almost like a programmed response. But the only thing I do know about George Formby is that apparently he did not want to do that act because he inherited it from his father, didn't he?
I believe so, yeah. As for your point on giving a tune, I would liken it more so to a saxophone player being someone shouting out, "Do Careless Whisper" or "Baker Street." It's that kind of...
Right, okay.
That's the sort of thing I I would liken it to more. But yes, in Europe they definitely have a lot of club culture. And they've got their own niches. I went to a jam in Unitice, a town in Czech Republic near Prague. They had a lot of Czech folk songs, or they would have English pop tunes, but they would be translated into Czech. I've got a wonderful little video clip of they're playing "These Boots Are Made for Walking," but in Czech language.
Oof. I'm not sure I'd want to see that really, but the one that when we lived in Italy, a friend of mine played for a band called The Lamb, which was the official Genesis tribute act out there. And they used to do all the early Genesis stuff, which Peter Gabriel always used to do with all the sort of costumes and the flower head dress and all that sort of stuff. And the interesting thing is to see him, because they don't. I mean, the words are pretty difficult to understand, even if you speak English, in what they mean. And this guy's clearly learnt them by rote. And he's crawling across the stage with a daffodil on his head and things like this. And I don't know. Words fail me on that one, I'm afraid. So going back to your thing about the songs that you didn't need to know, you didn't need to hear on the ukulele. What's your favourite one that you've hijacked, transformed, and reinvented?
For my instrumental arrangements, because I play cover gigs, but I also like doing instrumental covers as and when. I like showing that I can. I'm not just a guy who sort of plays cover songs, but I can also actually play the instrument well. My arrangements that I'm most proud of, I've got two. First one I'd say is "Under Pressure" by Queen.
Right.
I had the riff of, and I just took that riff and I just developed it further. And I did a video. I put it out in June, I think, last year in my garden down there. And I'm really pleased with how that went, because I was really proud of that arrangement. The other one is I have an instrumental arrangement of "Stairway to Heaven," which I like it because depending on the audience, both in ukulele circles and also in pub circles, it really makes people kind of one of the best memories I have of it is I was in Kentucky. I went an open mic night and they see me on stage with a ukulele and I hear chuckles, and then I start playing the intro to "Stairway to Heaven" and they're like, "What?" And then I keep going and they're just captivated, and I love it so much. Other songs I really enjoy playing on the uke, "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" by Tears for Fears. I'm happy with the cover I make of that. And "You Can Call Me Al" by Paul Simon.
Yeah.
Recently I've been playing a song by Prince, "When Doves Cry," which has been a lot of fun to do. And I'm still working on it, still trying to tweak bits here and there, but it's one I'm looking to make a video of in the future.
I wonder what Prince would have felt about that. I have to say, I'm a very big Prince fan. I saw him once and he was just absolutely gobsmacking, brilliant musician. And apparently when he died, he enough material left for an album per year for the next 250 years or something. I think he was doing so prolific, it just gobsmackingly good. Okay then, well, I'm going to be awkward here and ask you if you'll play one of your instrumental.
All right.
One of your interpretations. Sure. Any of those that you mentioned would be perfect.
I feel like I need to do an instrumental, so let's whack the reverb on, and I'll probably do "Under Pressure."
Yeah, that sounds good. Excellent, excellent. You've worked hard on that one, haven't you?
So much fun. It was born out of pettiness. I realized as I was playing it, I remembered the origin of it. I had a friend of mine called Matthew who played an arrangement like that, but who did it. He did it in the key of C as opposed to D, the original key. And I remember just being annoyed. I was like, surely you can do that in the original key. And that's where I just kind of challenged myself to do it. But yeah, lots.
I was going to say it sounded like a challenge. Yeah, the gauntlet was hurled down.
Indeed.
So interesting when you're talking about the songs, the songs you played earlier on, is that they all emerged out of situations, in the sense that one was a sort of, it was Christmas Day and you weren't going to go skiing, so you'd gone for a walk. But it sounded like a kind of a very deliberate thing. Are you a disciplined songwriter, do you think?
So in the case of so with the album Songs from Happy Winter, I decided I knew the concept of what I wanted to do, because I had a previous album that I released in 2017 called, and I hope that we're not censored on this show, it's called Songs from a Shit Summer. It was right. So it was based on a shit summer I had, and I wrote an album's worth of material in that time. And I realised, I want to make an answer record for this. I want to,
Okay.
So I challenged myself that from start December until the end of February, I was going to write an album. That was my perimeter. I needed to have a happy winter, and I needed to use those experiences to inspire me to write music. So when I was on this holiday, I had writing in mind. I was like, I want to have a nice time, and I want to use this time to sort of... I planned it sort of, okay, the 12 weeks, a song a week, that's an album. It was my sort of rough framework for it. So that's the kind of the way I generally approached that writing process. So I was disciplined in that sense because I knew I wanted to make something happen. And I'm also part of a group that does songwriters challenges. And
all right.
So I've answered various prompts before in the past, which has been, and I've had to sort of sit myself down sometimes to really hammer home or really get a song out. The emphasis of those groups is to not necessarily create something that's performance worthy or record worthy, but just to create. So I have been disciplined in the past, but I also totally experienced writer's block and having no inspiration to do anything.
It's a funny thing. I was in a situation 3 years ago when I did an album, and I was working with a producer from Nantwich actually, and I planned to do an EP. And I had 5 songs ready for this EP, and we went in and we recorded the first 5. They weren't complete, but we'd actually got the basis of them down. And I decided it was going so well that I wanted to do a full album. And we were just about to go back to Italy for 3 weeks, 3-4 weeks. So I said, all right, well, I'll write another 5 songs to go on the album, which I did. And I was pleased with them. But ironically, they're not songs that I play very often. And I'm not quite sure why that is. Whether the fact that they were sort of made, produced and finished, as opposed to other songs which sort of evolve over time. Have you found out with certain songs like behave differently, as it were?
One thing I can mention is on the album, it was sort of very constrained within this 3-month writing period, which is arbitrary, but it's what I set myself, those parameters and those limitations. And there's one of the songs on there which I like to think of albums as not just a collection of songs, but a musical journey. And that was the whole point of Songs for Happy Winter. It was taking me chronologically through this period. And
away from the bad summer. Indeed.
So yeah, the songs were on the album chronologically in terms of when I wrote them. So it folded. That was where the journey came from. Although I know that some of the songs I haven't played them much because I made them on the album because that I wrote them, therefore they had to go on there, because otherwise the journey would have been compromised. I describe it as like the Gold Dust Woman to that album's Rumors, if that makes sense. There's one song. It's "Hound from Bailey Lane." I wrote it about my dog, and it's all right as a song, but I don't really play it that much because I think it's one of the weaker songs on the album, and that's because I wasn't trying to make 10 singles, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that answers. Is that answer your question?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, I don't think there is a straight answer to it, but also it's quite interesting what you say about the album, because more and more I see these days is people are not concerned with an album as a concept. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people about this in the sense that people of my generation say rarely, if they listen to an album, they will listen to it from start to finish. And if it's on a CD, they will never use a shuffle button. Whereas these days, I mean, because you don't have those sort of physical limitations of a CD or a piece of vinyl, the album can be whatever you want. You can release, a single every week if you want. But it's a different feeling for me. I don't know about you. In the sense that you seem to be thinking in terms of albums as an entity.
I agree. When I used to review music, one of the points I would mention on albums or EPs was the musical journey and how one song flowed between the other and how they linked with each other. That was one thing I was really big on, because there is an art form to that, and artists back in the day spent ages deliberating on what order to put their songs in. I was lucky in my album that order was arbitrary.
It was already prescribed.
Yes.
Yeah. But I admit that on this album that I did, there were 11 songs, and I can remember shuffling the titles around and looking at them and saying which way should they go, and for a long, long time, and then discussing it with the producer as well and say, well, what's the best thing to do? But of course, the lack of physical restrictions now means an album can be whatever you want it to be. As it can be, or the project can be a single that lasts 2 minutes, or it can be a collection of 45 different songs. But I don't know. I like the idea of an album being complete, because one of the things I've said and discussed with other people is that if I hear something, say something comes on the radio and it's a track I know from an album that I know, then I'm very disappointed that the next song that comes on is not the one that should be on the album. Because you have an expectation of what will come after it. And sometimes you kind of get lost and listen to the song and thinking, oh, yeah, great. And it brings back some memories or other. And then suddenly that's shattered because you're not actually listening to the album. So I think we may have lost something. But on the other way, we got more freedom. I mean, do you put stuff out as singles as well, or?
So for Level Up, which came out in 2018, I did a single in March and then released the album in May. For my last album, I didn't. I just released the album, boom, in one. I just because in terms of the way I'd been promoting it, I knew when I wanted it to have it out, and I knew when other things would be ready. I didn't really have the time. Working on a new record at the moment, and it's an EP probably, or a long EP. And you know how these things go, you get carried away. Yeah. So I might release a single first and then try and release the rest of the EP later on this year. I'm still undecided. I'm still in the mixing process of it.
Do you when you say putting it out as an album, I mean, do you put them out as CDs or as vinyl or cassettes, or do you purely put them out as streaming?
Level Up was released on CDs and cassette. Level Up, the artwork was an 8-bit version of me. Right. So I just thought cassettes were kind of cool. I liked the idea of having it, so I released a few of them. I also Songs for Happy Winter, that came out on CDs, and I also USBs as well. I had little snowman USB sticks, which were adorable. Oh, cool. So that was good. It was gorgeous. For for this latest one, I'm not going to go down the CD route because I've noticed from Level Up to Happy Winter from 2018 to 19, people's consumption of CDs, as reflected in my sales records, have gone down dramatically. So it's not viable for me to buy CDs to, struggle to sell them because people aren't buying CDs anymore. So I'm just going to...
Again, there's a lot of age group difference, isn't there? I mean, I know that on the blues circuit, for example, that people still buy a lot of CDs. But I was listening to, what's it called? There's no such thing as Fish. Do you know that podcast?
I haven't, sorry.
It's the question setters from QI, and it's full of sort of obscure facts and things. And they were talking the other day on it about releases on cassette, and it was saying how the number of releases on cassette has been going gradually up in the last 5 years or something, I think it was. And they were saying that the biggest selling cassette in 2005 or something other sold something like 10 copies in the UK. And it's some absurdly small figure. Whereas now it's actually creeping back up. I have to say, I can understand how people say that vinyl is more, has got a purer sound, etc., etc. But cassettes, apart from being portable, don't have much benefit, I don't think. I don't know. Did you find you sold a lot?
I knew that there would be a disparity, so I ordered less. I think I had 100 CDs, 50 CDs, 150, 50 or 100 CDs, I forget which number. And I had 10 cassettes, I think it was.
Right.
Can't remember. It was a long time ago now, but I ordered to kind of compensate.
Yeah.
I knew that once I sold out, I wasn't going to really reorder them. I just had the nostalgia for it, and at the time, I had a bit of a buzz where I was like, I wanted to start buying more cassettes and listening to music on cassette.
Yeah.
And I did. So I've got like tapes of Willie Nelson, Nat King Cole, Billie Holiday, Fitzgerald. I just got those tapes, and they're just lovely to listen to in the morning, even though I agree from an audio quality perspective, they do not compare to vinyl. But it was the novelty factor. It was the branding as well, just because it fit with the retro 8-bit artwork that I was going for. It worked in that regard.
Yeah. I got asked some years ago to do some illustrations for a set of T-shirts that were representing the 80s. And one of the images that they wanted was a cassette tape and a pencil. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just
you're clearly not old enough to remember that era, but you know where it's coming from.
I beg your pardon. I know. I mean, I know what the two things have to do with each other, definitely. And I've done such a thing in my youth. I'm only 24.
Well, you weren't around in the 80s, put it there. No, but you see, in the 80s, it was quite commonplace if you drove into a services on the motorway, that you'd find cassettes in the gutter, with like 3 miles of tape hanging out of them because nobody, because what they used to do is they used to get jammed in the machines as well because they were front loaders and they were a nightmare in many sorts of ways. But and the other thing is that they're difficult to mass produce. Especially in small batches. It's not like stamping CDs, burning CDs. It's a much more physical process than that, unfortunately. So it's been good talking to you. Are you going to do us one more song? That'd be great.
I'd love to, if I'm granted such permission.
You are indeed.
I mentioned before that I'm working on some new music, and I feel like it's only fitting to play one of those songs from this. It's a new EP. It's currently under the working title of Cartoon Physics.
Right.
And I'm still mixing it at the moment. The plan is to have it released at the end of the year, possibly in a concert where it's legal and safe to do so. But it's still in the works at this current point. This song specifically is it's about Galway, Ireland. I played Galway Ukulele Festival in 2019, and I had such a lovely time. And I wrote a song about my love for the city and how I hope to come back one day. It's called City Bells.
Brilliant.
I step off the plane, breathe the wind of a land I've never been. Swap the air for the rose, the fields racing behind my screen. Feel the cold of the ocean breeze, voices that remind me of a forgotten home. Feel the buzz in the center, decorated with banners and posters, with my face on. Those city bells, they call me. Not the time I didn't want to leave, have left behind stones left unturned, and faces who wait for my return. I felt the nightlife in the fourth of a Latin kind, with a pint in my hand, dancing to the buskers outside. Flags of 1,000 nations, the colors breathe air into the cobblestones below. People of 1,000 nations have walked these streets, foreigners welcomed as one of their own. And those city bells, they call me. Not the time I didn't want to leave, have left behind stones left unturned, and faces who wait for my return. The crowded bar is silent, just absorbing the band and the good company. I didn't mean to outrun my luck, feeling so at peace with the music playing next to me. At the turn of a new day, take a stroll along the boardwalk, alone at the beach with my footprints and I, and the greatest smile I've laid my eyes on. And those city bells, they call me. Not the time I didn't want to leave, have left behind stones left unturned, and I can't wait till I return.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thanks, Mark. Thanks for dropping in and having a chat with me. Now we've got your Facebook page coming up underneath here, so if people want to hear more of your work, and also your website is Marc Gallagher Music.
MarcGallaghermusic.com, yeah, and
Okay.
that handle Marc Gallagher Music applies to things like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Bandcamp, that general handle.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Brilliant. Well, best of luck with the new album. Hopefully, we'll bump into each other somewhere live in the foreseeable future. But until then, look after yourself and stay safe. Thanks, Mark. Cheers, mate.
My pleasure.
Thank you. That was good. I enjoyed that. Yes, you can find out more about Mark's music on the address below. So that's it for this week from me. Next week we've got another ukulele player, strangely enough, although she does other things as well. I've got Veronica Spurger and Max Di Bernardi from Northern Italy, and excellent, very excellent duo. Very knowledgeable as well. I was listening to Max Di Bernardi's podcast, Max Picks, this morning, and where he's quite unkind about a well-known rock band trying to do a traditional blues and finger picking it and making a bit of a mess of it. But it's rather entertaining. So next week, Veronica Spurger and Max Di Bernardi. So we'll be here as usual at 6:30 next week. So do come and join us. And in the meantime, look after yourselves and stay safe.